So I've been tracking something weird in the UK housing market over the last few weeks, and honestly, it's starting to get a bit concerning. Whether you own a house, you're renting, or you're trying to save up for your first place, what's happening right now is going to hit your wallet, one way or another. And the weirdest part? Almost nobody's talking about it properly. I've spent the last week buried in the latest data, Bank of England reports, Zoopla indices, Rightmove listings, mortgage approval numbers, and what I'm seeing, it's not what the headlines are telling you. Because here's the thing, the market isn't crashing overnight. That's not how this works. What's happening is actually more dangerous than a crash. It's a slow-motion reset that most people won't recognize until they're already caught in it. Right now, as I'm recording this in December 2025, we're watching mortgage approvals sitting at their lowest levels in months, asking prices dropping faster than they have in over a decade, over 93,000 buy-to-let landlords planning to exit the market this year, and first-time buyers getting squeezed harder than ever before. But the question everyone should be asking isn't, when will it crash? It's, how did we get here, and what happens next? So stick with me, because in the next 13 minutes, I'm breaking down the real data, the regional differences, and most importantly, who's going to win and who's going to lose in what's coming next. So let's start with the big problem that nobody wants to admit. Homes in the UK are fundamentally unaffordable. I'm not talking about, oh, it's a bit pricey. I'm talking mathematically broken. According to Nationwide's latest numbers, the house price-to-earnings ratio is sitting at 5.0 right now. The long-term average? 3.9. So we're about 28% above what's historically normal. Translation: houses are nearly a full year's salary more expensive than they should be relative to what people actually earn. And it gets worse when you zoom in on first-time buyers. The average property they're buying costs £104,950 more than what they paid just a few years ago. That's not a typo. That's over 100 grand in extra debt before you even get through the door. Now here's where this turns into a crisis in slow motion. Over 1.2 million households are remortgaging in the next 12 months. These are people who locked in cheap rates at 2% or 2.5% during the pandemic. Now they're coming off those deals and facing rates around 4.17% to 5.48%. Do the math on a £300,000 mortgage. That's an extra £300 to £600 per month, every month, for years. And according to lender surveys, 1 in 5 homeowners say they might be forced to sell if rates stay where they are. Think about that. 1 in 5. That's not a small number. That's a tidal wave of forced sellers waiting to happen. But the market can only absorb so much supply before something breaks, and that's exactly what we're starting to see. Alright, here's where it gets interesting. Estate agents are reporting something they haven't seen since the 2008 financial crisis. Sellers are cutting prices before they even get viewings. Let me say that again. They're not waiting to test the market. They're not negotiating. They're just dropping the price immediately because they know the market has turned. The latest Rightmove data shows asking prices fell by 1.8% between October and November. That might sound small, but it's the largest monthly drop we've seen in years. And here's the kicker. Some regions are seeing price cuts of £20,000 to £40,000 within weeks of listing. Why? Because of something called fall-throughs. A fall-through is when a sale collapses after it's been agreed. Maybe the buyer's mortgage gets rejected. Maybe the surveyor downvalues the property. Maybe the buyer just gets cold feet. Fall-throughs are up 42% year on year right now. So here's the chain reaction that's happening. Seller panics, cuts price to get interest, gets an offer. Lender says, that property isn't worth what you agreed. Sale collapses. Seller drops price again. Every property nearby becomes a comp at the new lower price. More lenders tighten up. More buyers pull out. You see how this spirals? It's not a crash. It's a grind. But the direction is only going one way. And this brings us to the regional split. Because what's happening in London is not what's happening in Liverpool. Here's something most YouTube videos won't tell you. The UK isn't one housing market. It's about 15 different markets duct-taped together. Right now, The country is split into two completely different realities: the South and Southeast, the falling knife London, Southeast England, East Anglia, parts of Bristol, Surrey, Oxfordshire. These markets are softening fast. Zoopla's latest index shows asking prices are actually declining in southern England for the first time in 18 months. Why? Because these are the regions with the highest house prices, the highest mortgage debt per household, the most stretched affordability, the most exposure to property taxes. In London, more than a third of all properties for sale are above £500,000. That's a huge chunk of the market vulnerable to any tax changes or confidence drops. Meanwhile, annual price growth has slowed to 1.3% nationally, and in the south, it's closer to 2.2%. But that's masking what's really happening. Sellers are dropping asking prices, but those drops take 2 to 3 months to show up in official indices. The North and Midlands, the last stand. Now flip over to the north: Manchester, Liverpool, Leeds, Newcastle, the northeast. These markets are still seeing price growth, 5.9% in the north last year, compared to just 2.2% in the south. The northeast is actually the buy-to-let capital of the UK right now, with average gross yields hitting 9.3%. Compare that to London at 5.7%. But here's the thing nobody's saying: this doesn't last forever. When the south falls hard enough, banks reset their lending criteria nationally. They don't just look at your local market, they look at national risk. So when London drops 10%, lenders tighten up everywhere, and suddenly the North and Midlands catch up. It's not that the North is immune, it's just delayed, like watching a wave roll across the country in slow motion. Now let's talk about something that's going to accelerate this whole thing. Landlords are bailing out. I'm not talking about small numbers here. According to Black and White Bridging's latest broker survey, 93,000 buy-to-let landlords are planning to sell up this year. Savills analysed land registry data and found that last year, 5.4 homes were sold by landlords to owner-occupiers for every one home bought by landlords. That's a 5-to-1 ratio. In 2021, it was basically 1-to-1. A record 26% of landlords sold at least one property in 2024. Only 8% bought. So what's driving this? It's death by 1,000 cuts. Mortgage costs. Many landlords are coming off cheap fixed rates and facing much higher payments. Section 24 tax changes. They can't deduct mortgage interest from rental income anymore, which has wiped out hundreds of pounds per month in profit stamp duty increases. It's more expensive to buy investment property regulations, energy efficiency standards, licensing fees, the renters' rights bill falling yields in expensive areas. London landlords are seeing rents plateau, while costs keep rising. And here's the scary part for the market. When these properties flood onto the market, they don't get bought by other landlords. They get bought by owner-occupiers at lower prices, which means every time a landlord exits, that's one more property that resets the price floor in that area. This wave alone could push prices down an additional 5 to 12% in certain regions over the next 12 to 18 months. Alright, let's just lay out the numbers. No spin, just facts. Mortgage approvals, 65,018 in October 2025, down from 65,647 in September. Remortgage approvals fell even harder, down to 33,100, the lowest since February. Buyer demand, down 12% compared to last autumn, according to Zoopla time on market. Properties are taking an average of 66 days to sell, according to Rightmove, up significantly from previous years. Price reductions, 38% of sellers reduced their price before Christmas. That's the highest percentage in over 12 years. Transaction volumes, 98,450 transactions in October 2025, down 2% from 2024 mortgage rates, 2-year fixed averaging 4.89%, 5-year at 5.25%, down from earlier peaks, but still way above what people were paying 3 years ago. Now here's the forecast. Nobody in mainstream media wants to say clearly, if interest rates stay elevated through spring 2026, UK house prices could fall 10 to 15% nationally, with steeper drops in the south. Let me put that in real terms. A £300,000 home could drop to £255,000. A £500,000 London flat could drop to £420,000. That's not alarmist. That's just what a 15% correction looks like in numbers. And before you say, but the government will intervene, let me be clear. They can't. Not really. They can't force banks to lend. They can't force buyers to buy. They can't force wages to rise overnight. The mechanics of the market are already. So here's what you need to understand about where we are right now. The UK housing market isn't collapsing. It's resetting. And resets don't happen overnight. They happen in stages. Right now, we're in stage 1. Recognition sellers realize the market has turned. Buyers realize they have leverage. Banks realize they need to be more careful. Stage 2 is coming. Capitulation. This is when people who have to sell start flooding the market. Forced remortgages, forced sales, distressed listings. And stage 3? Resolution. That's when prices find a new floor, affordability improves, and the market stabilizes at lower levels. We are nowhere near stage 3 yet. If you're a homeowner, don't panic, but be realistic. If you're not planning to move in the next 2 to 3 years, you'll probably be fine. Property is a long-term hold, but if you need to sell soon, understand that you're selling into a falling market. If you're a buyer, you have more power than you've had in years. Don't rush, don't overpay, wait for motivated sellers, get proper surveys, and remember, asking prices are not selling prices right now. If you're a landlord, run the numbers honestly. If your yield is below 6% and you're facing higher costs, it might be time to reassess. The market is consolidating toward professional landlords with bigger portfolios. Small landlords are getting squeezed out. If you're renting, short-term, rents might stay high because supply is shrinking. But longer-term, if enough landlords exit and prices fall, you might finally get a shot at buying. Just not yet. Look, I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to tell you what the data actually says. And what it says is this. The next 12 months are going to reshape who owns property in this country. The fundamentals haven't changed. People need homes, the UK has a housing shortage, and property is still a solid long-term asset. But the price at which all of that is true, that's what's adjusting right now. We're watching, demand falling, supply rising, costs increasing, confidence dropping. And the first wave of forced sellers just starting to hit the market. This isn't the bottom. This is the beginning of the adjustment. If you want to stay ahead of this, not behind it, make sure you subscribe to Brick and Pound News. Hit that notification bell, because I'm tracking this data every single week, and I'll keep you updated on exactly when things shift. The housing market moves slowly, until it doesn't. And I don't want you caught off guard. See you in the next one.